Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts on this Thursday. Thanks for tuning in exclusively to our Fox local channel as well as our Fox 6 YouTube page.
That's right. Click subscribe, everybody. Today is August 14th, 2025. Yes. But on August 14th, 2003, a major event occurred that some of you might remember. It was a massive blackout through most of the Northeast. Millions of customers left in the dark after a tree took down a transformer in Ohio. Shows you how our grid is linked, right? It was one of the largest outages in North American history. More than 50 million people in 8 different states and the province of Ontario were plunged into darkness. Wow. I was living in upstate New York at the time. And yeah, we had nothing for a couple of, it was about a day and a half for us, but there were some folks that were out for 2 or 3 in our neighborhood, and some I think at the peak was out for 4 days straight.
Wow, so I couldn't imagine.
Quite the event indeed. And then there was a subsequent little baby boom. You do the math and the biology. We'll leave it to you on that one. Now, let's get back to weather here. We're going to go to Hales Corners. It's amazing. Hale Corners police are sharing some pretty wild new video that shows some of what officers responded to during the worst of the flooding.
Waist high water, are you in Unit 1?
We have not even made it in the apartment building yet.
Officers went to a flooded apartment building, and when they got there, there was waist-high water throughout the entire parking lot. These dash cams and some of the videos, the officers are wearing when they respond, they're starting to come in now and being released by the different departments and whatnot. And they're just really eye-opening and mind-boggling. And the fact that this is happening in the dark stuff, that just makes it so much scarier.
It is, especially when you're driving, because you don't really see it until you get right on top of it, essentially. But this is good perspective for the communities that dealt with even higher water. So that's just, again, Hales Corners, just hard to even wrap your head around. But more dash cam video for you. This one from also a squad driving on Grange Road straight through some flooded streets.
Oh, wow.
Wow. And again, you can't see it. You can't even tell until you see it on the side of the cars.
On top of it, right.
All right, you can see as they drive down Grange Avenue, water kicked up from the tires, rising on both sides. However, police want to warn you to not drive through flooded areas like this. Obviously, these officers here were doing it because they were responding to a call, but we always say, turn around, don't drown. That's good perspective for you to see how quickly you can come up on floodwater, how deep it can be. In that situation, it was just going up on the sides of the cars, but it's always possible. You're just, in there.
Right, you're just in it. You don't know how deep it is. And like you said, you can see how quickly it comes up on them. And it's like a fire hose on leashes on either side of that vehicle. So, yeah, very good point. Just turn around and don't drown. Let's go to Janesville, another wild scene there. This time, someone's backyard. You can see officers wading through waist-high water here, eventually moving floating wood and debris out of the way to get where they were going.
Oh, my goodness. I think we just need to stress how thankful we are for our officials and our police officers and first responders. They were so busy and are still so busy, not with active flood water, but with cleanup and reports, and we are very thankful for everything
we
that
thank
you've
them
done.
for putting themselves, at risk as well, because those they have no idea wading into that, what they're about to encounter as far as the power of the water, where the water's flowing, what's underneath them, and like we've been talking about for the last couple of days, what's in that water, right? I mean, obviously the officers, the first responders, typically have the right gear to be, in those situations. They're not in there in their shorts or whatever, as like fairgoers were, but it's still a situation that could be very, very dangerous for them. So, yeah, great point. Thank you for all of that.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk more about the dam that we talked about yesterday out in Waukesha County. Still an emergency situation. You can see the Merton Mill Pond Dam has a major sinkhole. The DNR tells us the problem is with the retaining wall, not the dam itself. They say the wall is not stabilizing the dam, and the dam structure is protected.
Well,
so that's some good news there, but still as a precaution, the village of Merin called a level 2 emergency, which means there's a risk of potential dam failure still. So downstream from there, the Bark River in Heartland, Delafield, Dousman, and Jefferson County, they're all on high alert at this point.
The water that goes down the spillway is going down with such force that it got under the wall and it started to liquefy and deteriorate the gravel and the ground underneath, causing the sinkhole.
One that we've had out here that knows about these types of things have all said there's no threat to this right now. We're just trying to mitigate the issue that's coming down towards us.
A surge could be coming, as you just heard there. Water from Bark Lake is backing up because the outlet is clogged. Merin leaders say when it pops, the rush could head to this area. The DNR is checking where else it might go, and the village lowered the pond to prepare.
All right, now to Menominee Falls, where a dog was swept away in a raging Menominee River. That dog is back home now with its owner. This is we're seeing new video from the rescue that's just come in the last day or so to save the 2 people who went in after the dog.
He's gone! Hey! Watch it! Hey, he's going down the river! Go down there!
So that rescue of 2 people was on Monday. One person ended up about a half-mile downstream, again showing the power of that water to move you that quickly. Witnesses nearby say they saw 2 people struggling. They called 911, thankfully, and they are now recovering in hospital.
Thank goodness.
We're not alone in this. In fact, some more recent flooding in other states.
Exactly. Tennessee is the next spot we're talking about. Many states obviously dealing with issues caused by widespread flooding. One of the hardest hit states is actually Tennessee, where several inches of rainfall in just a few hours fell Tuesday night.
Wow, look at that truck.
I know. Oh my gosh. The National Weather Service says over 6 inches of rain fell around Chattanooga on Tuesday. It was the second wettest day in Chattanooga history. Some people are preparing for the possibility of more flooding while still cleaning up from Tuesday's flooding.
Wow, I was just in Tennessee a few days ago, the other side of the state there, more toward Memphis, but yeah, amazing how we had a beautiful, hot, sunshiny day, and then you see videos like that just a couple of days later. Shows you how quickly things change. And we talked a bit about this yesterday up in Alaska, flooding there as well. Sections of Alaska's capital city are dealing with record flooding. They've got rainwater, they've got the snow melt. It's all flowing downstream from a basin that's dammed up in the Mendenhall Glacier. So Juneau officials first reported pooling of water on Tuesday after water started escaping from the glacier's ice dam. Neighbors in flood zones were then asked to pack up and get out of there. At its peak yesterday, the water levels reached about 16 feet.
Wow.
That's huge. That broke the record, which was set just last year. As of yesterday afternoon, the Mendenhall Glacier Visitor Center obviously is closed.
Wow, that's a lot of standing water just in all of those backyards, essentially. I'm sure it's seeping its way into basements as well, if they have basements.
Right. I mean, that's definitely a different scenario there, though, between, I mean, we have rainwater flooding, you know, we've had river flooding, even lake flooding, we've had that, but we don't have a lot of glacier flooding. So that's a unique Alaskan story to be told.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is a completely different story. While many places here are dealing with too much water, a lake in Minnesota is actually having the opposite problem. The popular lake has all but dried up after a mechanical failure. Fox's Coring Haggard has the story.
Yeah, we're on what should be a floating dock, but there's really nothing for it to float on. There's just a little creek and a trail of dead fish leading right up to the culprit causing this mess. A soggy shoreline marks the spot where an overfilled Lake Alice breached a dike and spilled out into the St. Croix River just last week. State Parks employees did what they've always done in that situation since the lake was built in 1961. They opened a valve Friday to lower the water level by about a foot, but they had a different ending on Saturday.
We went to shut the valve and we found out we had broken parts down inside the water control structure. You can see the collar on the left side is broken.
Canoeing, kayaking, and fishing typically draw people to the lake, but by Monday the visitors only came out of curiosity to see what they've lost, at least for the time being.
I don't know, it's not even a marshland, it's just completely empty. And seeing all these dead fish around is pretty sad.
We do have a fish kill in the lake, which we never want to see, but we are seeing wildlife such as our bird species come down. We're seeing our kingfishers, we're seeing hawks coming down and taking some of those fish to eat. So a bad day for some of the fish or a good day for another animal.
A good time to kill off the invasive carp and clean out some weeds as well. State fisheries employees tried to save some of the pike, and they plan to restock the lake when it's stable again. The natural springs that fill up this lake could actually refill it in less than a month once there's a solution in place. A temporary fix could happen very quickly. A permanent one might take a little bit longer because the machinery here is pretty old. At Lake Alice, Corin Hoggard, Fox 9.
Wow.
What a fascinating
situation.
story. I would not want to be that team, whoever was on that day to pull the plug, doing your job, and then find out I can't put the plug back in.
Right, exactly. Coming back and that's a little more water than we anticipated.
Drained the entire lake. Yeah. Wow, what a crazy story. All right, let's talk about our crazy weather story.
Yes, shall we? We're actually going to start with some wildfire smoke. We don't have much here locally yet. We could see just a bit going forward this afternoon, but this is the view up in Manitowoc, not too far from us, where you can tell that it is a little bit hazy at the moment. So it is going to be an afternoon where we potentially see, especially in some lakeshore communities, a little bit of wildfire smoke rolling in. This is the plume out over Lake Michigan that we're watching here. We have a pretty calm wind at the moment, but we are expecting more of a lake breeze as the afternoon goes on. So it might be enough to just pull a little bit of this to the lakeshore. So up and down Lake Michigan, and you can already see some up near Green Bay as well as towards Manitowoc County. Might just be a little bit hazy at times. In fact, putting this in motion, you can actually see it's more so later on this evening and tonight that we see some of that moving in off of Lake Michigan. But then for Friday, as we see more of a southerly breeze, it pushes it all back up towards the north. So I do think our surface winds here will help out a little bit when it comes to the potential for some haze. And air quality is just fine right now. There are a couple of communities from Green Bay all the way down to Milwaukee and towards the border where it's moderate. Others are actually good right now, so not an issue at this point. Now let's check in with our river flood warnings. The good news is that this Milwaukee River has actually expired. We just have a flood warning for the Cedar Creek in Cedarburg that is set to expire overnight tonight. It is still very high. I believe it's just over 10 feet right now, but flood stage is about 9 feet. So we're getting closer. The Fox River at Waukesha a little bit longer. That's set to continue until about Saturday morning, and it's entirely possible as we see more rain heading into the weekend, we see more of those river flood warnings back across southeast Wisconsin. But right now, statewide, we are clear. We're sunny. There's some cloud cover and light rain out west across Minnesota and northern Iowa. That's going to fizzle by the time it reaches us, so not really worried in the near term of rain chances here locally. Warm front off towards the west, though, we are going to heat things up a little bit starting tomorrow and then especially Saturday. So we do have a bit of a warm up on the way. Yesterday we were in the 70s. Today we're going to stay in the 70s, but those 80s are back in no time. And still a lot of moisture out towards the east, too. We just talked about that flooding in parts of Tennessee. There are decent areas, especially the Carolinas and then up and down the East Coast, still dealing with some rainfall. The latest on Tropical Storm Merin, try to bring you this every single day. I know we started talking about it yesterday. Look at how much it's moved compared to yesterday. So it's still moving at a decent pace right now, about 17 miles per hour. But it is still a tropical storm. Forecast here through the weekend to become a hurricane. And then you can see the potential track here from the National Hurricane Center, getting closer to the Leeward Islands, the U.S. Virgin Islands, maybe not quite to Puerto Rico, and taking more of that northerly turn. Still a ways away, but something that, of course, we'll be watching. It's basically the first tropical storm that we're really watching getting going here and potentially bringing impacts to parts of the U.S. Back closer to home, we're talking all about the quiet weather here locally, and that's across the entire state. Temperatures will be very normal for this time of year, a mix of upper 70s and low 80s. But as we mentioned previously, we are going to heat up as soon as Friday and especially Saturday with mid 80s to about 90 on Saturday. And then Sunday into Monday, a couple more 80s before dropping a bit after that storm system. Dew points will also be on the rise, not today, but as soon as tomorrow. And then you can see Saturday to Sunday, those dew points will be back to 70s. Now, I know we still have some heat ahead for the next couple of days, but taking a look at the long range, we do have potentially a cool down in the extended forecast. This is the Climate Prediction Center's 8 to 14 day outlook here, so more so towards the end of August, giving us indications that we may actually see some slightly below average temperatures, which by this point in time will be 70s. So if you are maybe looking forward to fall or just over some of the heat and humidity that we've had a lot over our summer months, there are indications that we actually start to cool down just a little bit heading on into the next couple of weeks and by the end of August. That's the latest look at your regional weather. Let's take a live look outside right now. We do have plenty more to talk about on Wisconsin weather experts, including talking a lot about some of the rain and some fancier terms with meteorologist Tom Walks. That's coming up after the break.
All right, welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts. It's a beautiful day, so we want to be out here on the weather deck. It's also a beautiful day because Chief Meteorologist Tom Walks is joining us on the weather deck. How are you?
Good. Great to be with you guys today.
Great.
And you were sounding wonderful.
Thank you. The voice is getting better.
It does.
Finally.
It sounds fantastic.
Finally, right?
We're happy to hear it and to see you.
Well, thank you.
And lately, of course, we've been talking about flooding. The entire, first 10 minutes of the show is different flooding. And a lot of that, of course, comes down to how the rain comes down and where that rain is coming from.
Right, exactly. exactly. And so wanted to peel the layers back a little bit, right, of kind of how we forecast this. Let's show you, first of all, where we stand rain-wise. This is from Mitchell so far for August. And just take a look, guys. We've only had 3 days with rain. Isn't that crazy?
And those are the lower numbers in the region, too.
Yeah, I mean, you go a little northwest, 14 inches of rain on the northwest side of Milwaukee. So we've had officially at Mitchell about 8 inches of rain for the month. We're running over 6 inches above average. And for the year so far, we're getting close to 28 inches, also over 5 inches above average. But I want to show you this here. This is our Sky Vision Plus model, and this is what we call precipitable water, or fancy term would be PWAT, is what we kind of call that. What does this mean? So what you're looking at here is when we have water, it's in different forms, right? So we have the gas form of water, which is water vapor that we've all heard of, right? Well, watch this. As we go through time now into Saturday, as rain chances start to increase around here, you'll note these precipitable water values go up. So what this is telling us effectively is the moisture content in the atmosphere. So if we take a column of air with high dew points, and dew points are forecast to go up, right, into the 70s this weekend. Well, warmer air holds more water, and when the moisture goes up and the dew point goes up, it means that there's more water in the air. Well, if that water were to condense out all into liquid, that would mean heavier rain, right? So what this is showing us, and the colors, when you get into the orangey colors here, is showing that this is more of a heavy rain threat for us as we head into the weekend, because the moisture is increasing. The water vapor in the air is increasing. So as a result, our heavy rain chances start to increase over the weekend. I know that's really kind of getting deep into the weeds of the science of this, but that's really what we look at here to try to determine how heavy this rain could be and why, if the rain tracks over us this weekend, we could be dealing with more flooding issues.
Right. And kind of the definition's in the name, right?
Right.
Precipitable means the water that is able to be precipitated.
Yes, going from the gas
right?
to the liquid.
To break
exactly.
it down
right.
there a little bit. And what's interesting here, in my time here in Wisconsin, and as we look at it from a climatological point of view, is that the air is holding more and more precipitable water.
Right, because the warmer it gets, the more moisture that air holds. And so that's something, that we really need to be mindful of. Now, the question then becomes, is location, right? Because the flooding that we had this past weekend was, very widespread for our area, but also on still a very local scale from a global standpoint. So the question over the weekend then becomes, where do we see that heavier rain exactly fall? We know the potential is there, but where does it actually happen? And that is to be determined.
Right, exactly. And I do love that this really shows all of the different factors into the way that we forecast between the heat and the humidity and these precipitable water valleys. So it all ties together. We are looking at more than just one thing when we're putting together a rainfall forecast.
Yeah, and it also points out that you change one of those tiny little factors and it changes everything.
Yeah.
And you change one number in an equation, it changes the outcome. So we'll be watching it very, very closely. You and I were talking about this earlier. I was just talking to one of our, FOX6 family members, if you will, one of our coworkers, talking about her Germantown basement.
Yes.
And how they just put the new carpet in, and now they had to rip, days after the new carpet went in, it's ripped out again. So we're really going to watch this, as you say, location-wise, very closely. I know you have neighbors that had a similar experience too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are in that boat, and you drive down your neighborhood roads and you just see the piles on the curbs, and it just,
Your heart just
it
breaks.
hurts a little
heart
bit.
breaks.
Right,
Absolutely.
yeah. All that stuff, it's going to go to landfill. There's just so many, dominoes that fall that aren't right. So happy to have you here.
Thank you.
On the
Thanks
big
for
show.
having
Thank
me.
you.
And on the weather deck too, because a lot of times we get you in your backyard.
Right, exactly. So nice to be here on the deck.
FOX6 backyard. We'll be back too in just a couple of minutes.
Welcome back, everybody, to Wisconsin Weather Experts. Hey, we talked about a lot of really cool stuff in that last block. If you have questions, we have a QR code that you can scan, fill out the information, send it our way. There it is, and we would love to answer your questions.
That's right. We kind of have a question to answer here because we're going to talk about what makes you a mosquito target. Of course, as conditions outside keep getting a little hotter and a little wetter, we get these swarms of mosquitoes, and it tends to put a damper on the season's fun in the sun. Insect experts say there are certain factors that could make you a prime target, but to keep you safe, here's some strategies you can do to help keep yourself from being that bug buffet, so to speak. One mistake you don't want to make is thinking that you only need protection if you're going deep into the woods. So according to insect specialists, mosquitoes are attracted to the smell of people's body odor. Oh my. So it's best to use bug repellent spray to help mask our scent. You can also wear long sleeve shirts and pants to minimize exposed skin. And for those who feel they just might be a natural mosquito magnet, well, you actually might be right. Studies suggest insects prefer the type O blood type.
Wow.
Some researchers say that is still somewhat debatable, but I know that there are people that are bugs.
Yes.
And I like to sit beside them because then they attract all the bugs.
Wow. Okay.
Keep away from me.
Not going to a bonfire with this guy.
And if you're a smoke attractor, that works too, around the campfire. See you tomorrow.